But I have to say, I'm just reminded of Margaret Thatcher and the old U-turn if you want to. The lady's not for turning. Well, the PM certainly is, it would seem.
No, this is not a U-turn. This is making sure that we do this in a way that is fair and proportionate, that people can actually help make this transition. The transition is the right thing to do. We don't want to be reliant on autocratic countries for oil. We don't want to be reliant on China for every single thing around electric vehicles. So making sure that this is being done in a proportionate way is absolutely correct. You look at how the economics of an electric vehicle have changed since Russia's war in Ukraine. It costs more now to charge them up. Supply chains are a lot more fragmented. We need to think about policies that we put in place as they're being implemented to make sure that people can actually absorb the costs. That's the right thing to do.
What do you say then to the car manufacturers and to the businesses, Ford, for example, who really aren't very happy with this? They've invested billions in clean energy solutions. They were pushing for this 2030 deadline. That's now been pushed back. They're saying we're going to miss the boat now when it comes to investment and when it comes to future-proofing jobs.
Well, first of all, Ford put out that statement before we'd even announced anything. And also, if they say we're going to miss out on investment, we are doing something that brings us in line with countries in the EU. So if they're getting investment, why would people stop investing here? And at the end of the day, if people can't afford to buy Ford's products, there's no point banning petrol and diesel cars and forcing them when they're not going to be able to afford to do so. We have to do this in an affordable way. It has to be done in a practical way. And I've been speaking to the auto industry. They don't all speak with one voice. Yes, there is some uncertainty because we did have a mandate for a 100% ban by 2030. It's now 80% target by 2030, and then the full ban by 2035. So we're moving things out. We're moving things out by 5 years. That is not a change in direction. It's just slowing things down a bit so that people can catch up. That's the right thing to do.
What do you say to your colleagues then who are unhappy, including the former Prime Minister Boris Johnson, who said this uncertainty could drive up prices for families?
Well, what I would say is that we have to look at the practicalities of delivering the policy. We can't put policy in place just so politicians can go on the world stage and say, hi, look at us, aren't we world leading? This is not about us. It is about the people of the UK. It is about families. It is about the cost of living crisis and making sure that what we are doing is something that is manageable and still gets us to that transition, which we do want, of having a cleaner environment.
Recently been 20 points ahead in the polls. This is now a clear dividing line between the Conservatives and the Labour Party. But do you think it is enough to close that gap?
This isn't being done for political reasons. We need to make sure that we are making decisions for the long term, not just for next week or not for polls. We cannot run the country by polling. We have to look at what it is that people want. We're a democratically elected government. We're all MPs. We have constituents who we listen to, and what they are telling us is that they're worried about the cost of living. They're worried about how they will be forced to go onto electric vehicles in just 5-6 years' time. Probably even less if you look at the mandate that we're putting in. So what we have done is ease the pressure.
OK, I mean, look, you say it's not a political decision. Some people would disagree on that, but, you know, that's how it works. Can I ask you something else that isn't a political...
People think every single thing is political.
Well,
we have to do the right thing. We're doing the right thing. That's what's important.
Something that isn't political is the interest rate decision at noon today, because that's handed off to the Bank of England. What would... Because you're not involved in that, in politics, what would you like to see happen? Is it time for us to steady the ship now?
So I need to be careful before they make an announcement. I don't want to set any hairs running. But I would point to what the Prime Minister said yesterday, that the government's priority is tackling inflation. We know that the Bank of England will be thinking about that as well. And we have been tackling it. We promised to halve it by the end of the year. It's now 40% of the way down, so we're nearly there. So really what I'm thinking about is what it is that's going to make people's lives easier, and that is getting inflation right down.
OK. Kemi Badenoch, really good to see you this morning. Thank you very much indeed. Appreciate that.